Welcome back everybody, I hope you're all amazing. On today's video, we are going to revisit my very first multi-effects floorboard, the Boss ME50. I got this for Christmas when I was 15 years old, so 2003, somewhere around there anyway. That's my very hazy recollection. I used to take this on a guitar with me to high school every single day and plug it into the Marshall MG50 or the PV Rage that we had in the music room, and just absolutely have the greatest tone in the universe, according to me at the time. I ended up using this particular unit for loads of gigs as well when I started gigging. Early ragdoll stuff, you can actually hear this running into my Soldano Hot Rod on a ragdoll live recording called Live at the Rosemount that we did in 2011. My pedal board actually went down earlier that day, so I just grabbed this and used it for the live recording, and it was totally fine. I recently lent it to one of my students. I've got it back, so I figured it might be fun to just kind of plug it in and see what it can do all these years later. Basically, you've got an overdrive section, a modulation section, a delay section, an expression pedal that can be set up for volume or wah, resonance, a kind of vocalizer, a ring modulator, or an octave up and down. Then you've got a reverb, a noise suppressor, a compressor, and then like an EQ tone modify section. Let's just hear the sound bypass. I'm just plugging straight into the ME50. I'm actually just going into my Axe effects in stereo into a pair of ODS 100 clean amps. Old Strat, you get this. My favorite part of this entire unit is actually that tone modify section, and I'd either leave it on the fat setting because it was just kind of like applying a pre-EQ that pumped up the mid-range a little bit no matter what you plug it into, or this single coil to humbucker mode on there. There's a bunch of other settings like for acoustic guitars, and there's a presence setting. I kind of like this tight setting on here as well, which, you know, would be really handy with down-tuned guitars. I didn't know what any of this stuff did at the time. I just twisted the knob until it sounded good, and I thought it sounded good. So let's hear the fat setting again and then the tight setting. I like it. There is a built-in reverb on here. I'll turn the fat off. You've got room, hall, spring, and then a modulated reverb. And basically, like, you know, you turn the room on and you got about a quarter of a turn to adjust the overall reverb amount on there. So let's just hear a little bit of room, then a bit of hall and spring. I think the modulated reverb is something I used to like all the time. I didn't know what mod meant on a reverb, but, you know, this is part of the fun, revisiting this stuff. reverb on there is fine. I think the hall and the spring in particular sound a little cartoony, but you know, when you're a 15-year-old heavy metal hopeful, you don't use reverb anyway, you leave that off. Let's hear the compressor, because I used to like this on acoustic guitars in particular when I would just gig this as my acoustic pedal board. Basically you have two controls, sustain and level, nice and simple. It's got the typical Boss squish going on. Let's hear it. Now that feels good under the fingers. It's a little bit noisy, as you can hear, but that's what the noise suppressor is for. Can bring that in and kill some of the noise. I might just leave that on and actually bring it down, because I actually don't mind it too much. I think I would just always turn it up way too much, and again, not know how to really dial any of this stuff in. Let's hear some overdrive now. I've got it on the Blues Driver model. Basically, you have most of the standard food groups represented. Then there are some COSM amp style models in there. I think there's one called Metal, one called Loud, one called Crunch, and some fun stuff like a square wave distortion and an octave fuzz. I'll just kind of flick through a couple of them. Let's hear it. Oh boy, that brings back some memories. Some real nasty memories. Some fun ones as well. I think the Blues Driver sounds okay. I think the Tube Screamer from memory is like decent for tube screamery things. Let's take the level all the way up. I always appreciated that there was a bottom control on there as well as a tone control, so you could pull out some extra low end if you want. That is totally adequate. That scratches the itch, especially again when you're 15 years old and you don't want to go out and spend money on individual pedals when you can get something like this. The mod section has some super fun stuff in here. Let's just first hear the chorus. then the stereo chorus, then some of the other modes in there. There's even a Harmonist, which you can dial in, a Univibe. I think I remember digging the Univibe in there. We'll get to it. Let's check them out. I'm just going to start with a low rate and high depth for all of this because that's where I like to dial in chorus. Let's check it out. I really like that. What is that? Stereo Chorus 2 on there. I dig it. It's got that wide lifesome thing going on. So to answer the eternal question, does it rush? Yes, it will definitely rush. That's awesome. Boss chorus. Who would have guessed that they got the chorus right on this? Let's hear the Univibe and let's see how my memory corresponds to reality on here. You know what? That's not too bad. That is not the worst Univibe I've ever heard in my life. It makes me want to play Robin Trower, and that is a true measure of any vibe in there. It definitely doesn't have the kind of thick, syrupy thing that something like a Deja Vibe has, or even some of the more modern digital recreations like in the Axe Effects or the Eventide stuff, but you know, we're not talking about that price point at all. That's Univibe adjacent, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. It makes me want to play guitar. What else do you want out of a multi-effects pedal on there? There's a basic phaser and flanger. I'll let you hear the Harmonist. I got to remember how to dial this in. So I think this is the key. So if we go like C and we do thirds, I think it probably just defaults. What was that? Is there a little thing next to it? So 0, got thirds, fourths, fifths. Let's just hear some fifths. but not least, we'll check out the delay section on here. This may have triggered my love for all things delay back in the day. So it's kind of set up, I guess, like an expanded DD series pedal on there where you have different ranges. So you've got like very short delays, then slapback delays, then slightly longer delays, and then really long delays. So you can get up to 2 seconds of delay on here. Let's just have a listen to what you can do with that. Analog delay on here is quite tasty actually, so set it up for like a rhythmic echo kind of thing. We get this. That's probably totally fine for someone who had just heard Pink Floyd's The Wall for the first time. You can get that rhythmic echo on there. You know, the repeats degrade quite nicely. It's not too bad. The slow echo is really, really cool on here. So this is kind of like a slow gear combined with a delay. I'll crank up the effect level and feedback on it. Check this out. There's a reverse delay in here, which I thought was infinitely cool for about 5 minutes and then never used again. The space pan I remember enjoying as well. I didn't know that there was such a thing as the Roland Space Echo, or even that Boss and Roland were intimately linked, but I just like the way this one sounded. You also have the expression pedal, which could do some fun whammy stuff. So this was an octave down effect. a wah as we just heard. So if I was going to set this up now, I would probably go to that fat setting on here. I'd have the tube screamer set up the way I had it before. Go that stereo chorus 2, a bit of rhythmic echo on there. I might use the wah, I might use the whammy or something. And hey, look at this. There's a cat out of nowhere, and I'd be able to make some guitar noises with it. It's probably a good sign that it's a good time to finish up this particular video. Did you have one of these or another like Boss or Roland adjacent multi-effects unit? Were you using something high-end like a GP100, or were you using something like an ME50 or just a bunch of Boss pedals strung together? This brought back some pretty good memories, you know. None of this sounds awful. None of this sounds particularly amazing now that I've got stuff like the Axe effects and the modern Boss stuff. But you know what? I could still do a gig with this. I'm fairly confident this would bring the goods. So, you know, a little bit of tube screamer, some stereo chorus. We've got to do some more Rush on here, don't we? So, yeah, I'll play you all out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And you probably want some cat biscuits, don't you? If you want to support my channel and keep my cats fed and keep the lights on in here, check the video description. There's a bunch of ways to support what I do. You can even get some free IRs and join the Discord server where we chat about gear and a whole bunch of other stuff. Have a great day. I will see you all next time.